we got where we are by saying yes to things other people were too chicken shit to not say yes to. And if you can't curse, you can tweak that or whatever. And that's a superpower. Like we have, we're like, all right, we're going to do it. And I don't care if you agree that this works. I think it works. But then that becomes your kryptonite, because now you're getting deals coming to you. You're not looking for them anymore. They're coming to you. You're talking to a GoPod, or you're playing golf. And now the superpower isn't saying yes, it's saying no. And you need to flip that switch.
You're asking yourself, why am I doing this?
Smart people would know how to use all these different tools. They start with something small.
And never get your entire organization if you don't pull off operations.
Don't give up.
It can be as small as that.
I think you guys are going to have our last today.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Delegate That podcast, where we discuss the art and science of delegation, business management, and leadership. I am your host, Adam Labar, as always, and today I'm looking forward to having a conversation with Fred Hubler. Fred, we've talked a couple times, maybe at some GoBundance events, but this is the first time we get to sit down and have a podcast together. So if you can, please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your business.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to seeing you in real life at some point again. So I was in left field. I was a corporate, got my MBA, was an executive, and we're going back a couple decades. I decided that I wanted to be like a doctor, but not have any bodily fluids. And I was always the guy that did the stocks for my friends while they changed my oil. And I also came from no money, and I didn't like that problem either. So I was hyper-focused on where wealth is actually made. So I started with a brokerage firm that's probably in your neighborhood, spent 2 years there. My first day was 9/11. So that began the path of, that's a sales organization, like that's a sales process. So I lasted 2 years. Then my Catholic guilt got the better of me. I was making commission whether you made money or not. If you bought a stock and it went down, I'll make a commission when you sell it. And that to me didn't seem fair to the other person. So I started my own company, literally in Vanguard zip code. And I knew I wouldn't be cheaper or bigger, although I'm not against that. I'm not trying to. So I focused on what they don't do, and they still don't do, and they probably will never do. And that is alternative investments, accredited investments, the things that Harvard and Yale actually put money into. It's not the stock market. About 80% of their money isn't in things that have a ticker. Now, you and I can never do that. Like, that is a lot of illiquidity. We pay taxes and we die. Endowments don't. But Adam, if you figure out how to not do one of those two, I'll come work for you and we'll take over the world. So about 2003, so over 20 years ago, I put my flag in the sand and said, I'm going to do alternative investments. And there were crickets. And then the crickets got louder, because then there was, what are you doing? Just sell annuities, just do what everyone else does, Fred, because you're making me look bad. And so I've been comfortable being uncomfortable for 20 plus years. And fast forward, literally I'm in left field. Now the field's moved and I'm at the head of the pack. Forbes.com reached out and I thought they were trying to sell me something. And I'm at the time I was over 50. I'm 52 now. So I'm like, I don't need to buy, the Forbes Council or any of that valor. And, at some point you decide that you stand on your own and this is what I stand for. And I don't need anyone else to pat me on the back. Turns out the editor wants to pay me to write about alternative investments, which is really weird because one, they picked me, and two, they didn't have anyone before me. And I didn't make up the asset class. By 2030, alternative investments will be $30 trillion. I just want $1 trillion. I mean, Adam, I'm not greedy. I just want $1 trillion of the 30 trillion. And so our firm right now does three things. We'll manage money for people that want to give us money to do a household endowment. So a lot of alternative investments. We bring in what they already have. And that's as normal as we get, although we're using alternative investments. The second thing we did, which is a game changer, and again, it sounds great, but it took 2 years for anyone to care about it, is with a straight face, people on our side say, find an advisor, they charge you 1%, they put your money in harm's way with stocks and bonds, and then they give you the advice. And if you're a business owner, the advice probably is, don't buy a ticker. Go flip your next property. Go, leverage your next roofing company. Go roll up, a carpet company. There's a lot of better ways to make wealth than a ticker. So that idea, I created a trademarked retainer-based planning, which starts with the advice. And then we don't care where the assets are, because the assets are probably stuck in real estate or stuck in a cement plant. And those people that are worth 5 to 50, and that's our sweet spot. Yes, we have the 100 plus. and most of my friends and family are under 5. So, we'll take care of everybody. But at the end of the day, that second option that we work with clients, that retainer-based option, 2023, I came up with it. Crickets for 2 years. And then by 2025, blew up. Now we're in 34 states writing for Forbes, because there's not a lot of people that will say, hey, we'll give you advice and keep the money. Because and that is awesome. And so we've had to hire. So talking about delegation, we'll talk about that, because I've delegated too much and things blew up. I delegated not enough. Then I blew up things because I never got to them. So we definitely want to go into that. And then the third thing we're doing, which is really, again, blowing up in a good idea. And the funny thing is, these are all ideas I probably could have had 20 years ago, but you and I weren't the person we were 20 years ago. And that's one of the things about our journey, is you kind of have to reinvent yourself to keep scaling up. And it doesn't mean more financial. Obviously, that's important, because not having food is a downside. It's a downer. But the third thing that we're doing that is really blown up, and it was almost like we went viral twice, the retainer-based planning, no one's doing it. So I have no competition. And we have a lot of workflows, and I have 20 years experience dealing with all the issues. We've helped someone buy a jet. We've helped someone, buy a business and clean up their house. This third option I love, and it's a funny thing, and you'll love this. I have so much compliance on my side of the fence. I'm a hybrid. Every other day, auditors are coming in just to see what we're doing, because we kind of have a national presence and no one's ever heard of us. So who the hell are you, type of thing. And if you have a clean house, you don't care how many guests you have. So come on in, see this stuff. This third option took a month to get approved by compliance, because it's a $6,000 12-month program for tax mitigation. And if we don't find 12,000 of real tax savings, I refund 100% of the $6,000, because I don't need your money if I hadn't done my job. And to me, that is how commerce should work. You're paying me to do something. If I don't do it, I give you money back. Well, compliance in my world doesn't work that way. And so hand-to-hand combat, no lawyers were involved, but I'm like, I'm doing it with or without your blessing. So tell me how you want me to do it. So they had to have some, weasel word in the documents. But at the end of the day, I make the decision. We've never had to return the money. And the average savings is in like the $100,000. Because once we charge them, the client drops everything. Like, you find my stuff. And they don't have to change I don't do tax returns. I'm not H&R Block. So that third thing is where I've really, because of the demand for it, that's where the delegation comes in. That's when the pain of scaling happens, when you have people coming in the front door and you don't have people to answer the door. So long answer to a short question, but that's kind of what we do. The three things, happy to decompress any of it. And it's fun. I actually work, because if I don't, I will show my wife how to load the dishwasher, and you won't find my body. So I know.
I believe that.
I'm staying here for, self-preservation, and I love what I do. I love talking to guys that are, people, not guys, that made themselves wealthy. I have not brought on a client that was a trust fund client. They just don't value money, because they got it handed to them, and they can go somewhere else.
And really, the people who've made their money are the bulk of them anyways, because the bulk of millionaires are folks who are self-made. So it's like 90% or something ridiculous like that.
And that's who I am. And that's who I resonate with.
Every person on your team is wired differently. Some thrive with structure. Others drive results through autonomy. Some process information fast and move on. Others need depth before they decide. And when the wrong person is in the wrong seat, not because of skill, but because of how someone is built, performance suffers and no one knows why. Zentrix Insights maps exactly that. Behavioral patterns, cognitive style, and natural work preferences are all visible in 15 minutes. So you stop guessing who should own what and start putting the right people in the right seats. Because the best teams are not just talented, they are well placed. Visit ZentrixInsights.com.
So there's a couple different angles I'd like to take on this. One, I think this is going to be a slightly different podcast than your normal Delegate That podcast, because one of the things I'd really like to dig into, your expertise, is, if we're sitting here managing our business, we're running our stuff. I don't know. I could buy a sailboat. I could invest in these stock markets. I just throw it into, this self-directed 401k that I've thrown some money into people's syndications, or maybe I've done, some loans out of it for, rehabbing people, but I don't really know what to do with this. So, what are the types of things that you're guiding folks on, like me, or like other folks that we may know in GoBundance, these business owners who I'm focused on my business. I'm not focused on all this other stuff. What should I be looking at?
So the high level thing is not everyone needs us now because they're doing their own thing. But if you're, I haven't found anyone that this wasn't true. There's the alpha financial person, and sometimes it's the wife or the spouse. So if you don't need anyone like us, and I'm not saying you don't, you will if you don't wake up, because then that's when your wife's like, I have no idea what you did, and then she's going to go to some and completely blow it up, and you're going to haunt her for the rest of your life because you're building a non-traditional wealth engine. In most cases, you're owning a business, you're doing all those ideas you're talking about. But if you're not there to drive it, it's going to go off the cliff and actually be worse than if you even tried. Because now there's, people don't understand syndications. They go to an advisor that tells them to sell it at a 50% discount just so because the old advisors, they need money. They need your assets to give you advice. And again, I know that's wrong because that's not where people need to be. So the short answer is there's a spectrum of when and how deep you engage. So at a very high level, knowing who your spouse should call if you're not here. There's a bunch of guys in GoBundance that I love you, I don't need you, but right next to my will is your business card. I'm like, I hope I never want to see you again then. Like, I don't want that to be the reason I'm helping your family. But that kind of puts it in a nutshell. They're on top of everything. They don't need to pay someone else to also be on top of it. It's when they're not, someone else has to absorb it. So the neat thing about the retainer idea that we have doesn't require any assets to be with us. So then we can start to onboard and give a client, including the spouse, a portal that shows everything. Now, they may not understand it, but at least they know where it is. And that portal is a third party. It's not software. It's actually a Fidelity. It's not branded Fidelity, but it's a company Fidelity owns. So there's a few ways to triage. One is, where's the pain? A lot of times the pain is after you buy an investment, whether it's good or bad, the upkeep of that. So we have had, and I've got shiny object syndromes when I joined GoBundance. Oh, I like that. And some of them have crapped the bed, and others are going to. They haven't yet, and others have worked. And it's a spectrum of what works, what doesn't. But then I realized I got the same shiny object syndrome you guys got, and I tried to I'm better than that. Like I'm a professional, and I realized what I did, and I think this is true for most of your listeners, is we got where we are by saying yes to things other people were too chicken shit to not say yes to. And if you can't curse, you can tweak that or whatever. And that's a superpower. Like we have, we're like, all right, we're going to do it. And I don't care if you agree that this works. I think it works. But then that becomes your kryptonite, because now you're getting deals coming to you. You're not looking for them anymore. They're coming to you. You're talking to a GoPod, or you're playing golf. And now the superpower isn't saying yes, it's saying no. And you need to flip that switch. I was still in the, if I don't take it, someone else is going to take it. I believe in abundance, blah, blah, blah. Next thing I know, I got 17 different syndications. I'm in the business and I forget which one's which. So a lot of the issues we see with people, they make themselves and they do the wrong thing for the right reasons. I want to diversify. I like this guy. I don't own any multifamily. I'm going to invest in multifamily. All of which could be true and right. But you have to take a step back. So, okay, I got 17 different illiquid syndications, 17 different people, no one place to look at the money. I don't even know where the stuff is. How's my wife going to know where it is? So the first thing you want to do is get organized. Now, you don't need an advisor for that. We do it. People out there do it, but you definitely have websites. There's Mint. There's a bunch. There's a guy in GoBundance that has a website that really focuses on just illiquid stuff. So he gets the paper statements, his people put it into a portal, you see it electronic. It wasn't a feed, it was someone typing numbers. And again, it's all legit, but it's a very manual thing, because most of the investments we all own aren't tickers, aren't something you go in Yahoo Finance and read up that an analyst said no to it. If we could do that for the syndications that we all are in, we might not have bought them. If we started to do the research, and there's a bunch of which that I know I wouldn't have bought had I known what I found out. So the first part is getting organized. Now, if you're a baller or you're super busy, now your time is worth more than the money. And that's where firms like us, as long as they're not give us your money and then we'll organize it. If there's places out there, I'm sure I'm not the only one, I don't know who the others are, but hiring someone to say, hey, take my world and put it all there and tell me what we need to do, and almost be like a virtual family office. And for our we call it milestone clarification process. It's the retainer based thing. The whole deal is any sentence on your side that has a $sign and a question mark comes to your team. It doesn't have to be what investment. So we have seen, and this is the fun part with GoBundance, we have clients who are syndicators in GoBundance, and we handle their personal side. And we have clients at GoBundance who have bought people's syndication. And part of our role is we'll do the due diligence. So once I had, and we're all salaried in my office. So one of our team members come in, he's like, we got bad news. I'm like, why? I'm like, we were asked to review the syndication. I'm like, all right. He's like, and we don't like it. I'm like, all right, tell the client that. Whoa. It's a syndication of another client we have. I'm like, oh, that's why you're in my office. Like, I'm upstairs. I have a high school. I'm actually in the, what it looks like the principal's office, but I'm by myself upstairs. Upstairs is where the problems go. So when you're walking up, you're retiring or you're resigning or whatever. So what I ended up doing is I called the GoBundance guy. I'm like, hey, just so you know, we're reviewing the due diligence and for another client, not going to tell you who it is, but we're not going to say yes. He's like, you saw page 47, didn't you? I'm like, yeah. He's like, that was a typo. I'm like, well, you better fix it because it looks like shit. So that type of due diligence you get once you have a platform in which things can be organized. So I don't think creating wealth is the issue for most of your listeners. It's managing it. And then we don't know what we don't know. And so I think the shiny object syndrome that we all have in GoBundance is like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. I want to get. And so what I think is important is knowing what's out there and then seeing if it fits. And our tool, we have a flagship model of where we think allocation should be, and we compare it to where the clients are. Now, they don't have to agree with us, but if we have certain amount of private equity and they have zero, they're probably going to know that we're going to say, hey, you might have, get some private equity, like true private equity, not me lending you money to go buy a lawnmower repair business. That ain't. Technically, that is private equity, but that's not the kind. Like
but not the one you're looking at. Yeah.
So hopefully the spectrum for the delegation is everyone needs something to look at with real information. Everyone that I've ever met in GoBundance, any business owner, they have that executive functioning of their mind dialed down. You give them 3 options and give them the pros and cons of 3, they'll make the decision that's best for them. The problem is if you don't know what the options are, or one of the 3 options is actually a scam, but you don't know that's all on the front end. It's the front end is where the stuff has to get fixed. Saying no to the shiny object, having a platform, because I've seen people, they make their own spreadsheets and I don't have an advisor. Like, you are the advisor and you're spending 3 hours a day figuring out where your stuff is. And a lot of it could be electronic if you had some sort of portal. So sorry, that was a long answer to a short question. I think I've been doing this for 20 years. I actually live the business owner and scaling up. And I think the other thing that we wanted, the other main thing is as you get a bigger financial profile financially, and you're out there, have more businesses, by a natural preservation, the shell around you and your family has to get harder and smaller, which means you actually have less criticism on what you're doing because everyone likes you. Everyone wants to be with you or be on your boat or be employed by you or just be next to you because you're cool or you're richer than them. So maybe you'll pay dinner most of the time they go out. Whatever it is, it's baggage. We need to understand that, okay, I can't let everybody in because now people are going to be attracted to you. And when before you were looking for deals, you're going to get 17 deals coming in and you don't have time to do any of them. And so you have to learn how to navigate that, and no one ever tells you how to do it. And that's the cool thing with GoBundance is as we get successful, we can run off, hey, how did you do this? Because I had bought a vacation house, and my wife was concerned about telling her sister about the house. Because at the time, our vacation house was bigger than her house. And I'm like, she can use it. And so that time, you're navigating that success without burning the people. Now, not everyone is on with you on the path to success. Your true friends are, and your acquaintances come and go. And I think there's people in life that show up at the right time to do something with you or to give you a lesson. And that was their role in your life. And you're not missing a friend. They were never going to be a friend. It was the universe saying, all right, you got to learn something. You're going to learn it from this guy or girl, and you're not going to see him again. But you're going to have something from that interaction. And then there's some people you catch up. Some of my friends, I've been friends since we were single digits. So you were talking earlier, is it Frederick or Fred? Well, they call me Freddie. No one calls me Freddie. My mom did. So when someone says Freddie, I'm like, all right, you know me way before. You have a lot of. I'm just happy social media was not involved when Freddie was around.
Yep, I understand that. So I love this thought process because I have often talked about like the, in the military, we call it like, we said, hey, if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, somebody's going to sit in your seat and they need to know what to do. Have you set it up well enough so that they know how to do your job? And in this case, it's if I walk down the street tomorrow and I get struck by a bus, does my wife know how, where everything's at? Is everything taken care of? And a lot of people think of that as, oh, well, I mean, I've got this trust set up, or, hey, I've got this, it's all set up to where, we don't have to, it doesn't have to go through probate. There's so much more than just probate that you have to worry about. Does she know what accounts they are? Does she know how to log into these things? Does she know who these people are? Does she know what the deals actually mean? Should we actually sell them? Should we not sell them? So looking at you is almost is delegating that portion of the comfort of knowing that my spouse is taken care of. Even for me, like I'm so scatterbrained that I've got it all in a spreadsheet, but I update it like once a year, and it's like, I could probably do better than that, So let's
I didn't know
talk
Bitcoin did that.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. I'm thankful I didn't buy Bitcoin a month ago and then look at it today. So, so let's act like you're bringing me on. Like I'm sitting here saying, hey, what do I have going on? I'm probably your average person listening to this podcast anyways. I've got a couple businesses. I'm staying pretty busy. I've got 3 kids that I homeschool. I'm bouncing all over the place. I update my spreadsheet, but man, Fred, I need some help. What do I do?
So I have gotten blowback from friends, prospects who became clients, and also my own staff of why we're so upfront with how we do what we do, like our secret sauce. And it's really not that secret. It's an onboarding conversation that really is important. And I think we can do it better than anyone else. And so I'm not It's almost like if you're a convenience store, your competitors see how your convenience store is laid out. It's the same idea. And if they lay it out better, you can go and say, oh, 7-Eleven's doing better, then I can borrow from that. So every conversation, no matter what, because no one knows what we do or how we can help them. And I don't know what they need and how we can help them. And that's the gray area. That's the chasm. So whether or not they think they want to do the household endowment, or they think they want the retainer, or they think they want the tax mitigation, if they're not sure, all 3 of those meetings are the same the first meeting is the same from our side, where we require the spouse to be there. If it's a woman and you're a man, she's probably going to outlive you anyway. And that's the way the math works. The joke is men die first because we want to. I don't know if I can't say it's not funny and laugh every time I say it. So I have a sixth sense of humor, I guess is what it comes down to. So the very first meeting, to get to answer your question, is a conversation with both, with the family, husband, wife, or spouse, about what's important to them. Because at a very basic level, and this goes back to when I was working with NFL players from 2008 to 2018, if you organically, if you search for best NFL financial advisor, I organically came at as an answer. I didn't pay for it. I didn't want to be on the list. I got really weird phone calls of I want to take money out to buy a Cadillac. And I'm like, how'd you get my name? So making things that are complicated simple for people that are in the equivalent of a car accident every weekend in the football game, that's our skill set. So by knowing what's important to them, the very, the cover of the book that you're trying to write with potentially someone like me is making smart choices about money. That's the cover. Now, whether it's an index fund or whether it's a syndication or whether it's, mining crypto, like that's all chapters in the book or potential chapters. And in that world, we want to really understand what's important about money to both spouses. And if you're married, you're probably not married to yourself. So if you're a risk-taking business owner, your wife's not probably, or your spouse is not probably. 90% of the time, you marry your complement, but not your, not a clone of you. And so there's some compromise there. And they don't understand. Usually the spouse doesn't understand the wealth we have is because of the risk we took and mitigated. But they want the money, they don't want the risk, and they go hand in hand. So we would identify first, where are you? Because you may not need us for asset management. You might be in a really good blended account at Merrill Lynch or Vanguard or whatever. And then we'll look at the gaps. And that's really the important part. That's where your executive function comes in. All right, you got some investments here, you got some there. What don't you have? And then more importantly, what don't you know you even are missing? And that's where we get the aha moments. So everything we ever put in front of a client has to be FINRA and SEC regulated. I'm not, even if you had the best syndication that the world has ever seen, I am prohibited from ever showing it to any of my clients because you're not licensed. I can't say, here's Adam's thing and here's a Cantor Fitzgerald version of it. To the buying public, they're going to put you on the same level. And I love you. You're no Cantor Fitzgerald. You're no CP Richard Ellis. You're none of these big firms that we use, that deploy assets at the institutional level. And so that the FINRA and SEC regulated stuff is what we can show clients. And that's always accredited investments. It's always stuff that cannot be advertised because you got to be an accredited investor to even know they exist. So the hard part for us is showing you things they're not syndications. They're syndication-like, but they're 30-year track record. This is my third warehouse I flipped, and way more money, which means sometimes that's sometimes smaller is more nimble. Other times bigger is better. And you need to know for the right asset class, which one is it? The neat thing is all of that stuff is off the shelf to us, but it's a shelf that not many advisors have. The hard part is on your side, it all looks like Bernie Madoff stuff. I've never seen about it before. I Google the company and it just says, hey, request a PPM because it's very, and I think the interesting thing is the government thinks if you have $1 million, you're smart. You and I both know stupid $1 million people, and so the accreditation is, are you worth $1 million, not counting your regular house, your primary residence? If the answer is yes, that's when I can show you all my stuff. Now, we both know that doesn't mean you're smarter. It doesn't mean, you just get it, but that's the line in the sand. And I don't think we said water yet, but I say water. I'm from Delco, Pennsylvania. And so I did not come from money. And so for me, knowing how wealth is made got me into, well, where are the institutions doing it? Where are the sovereign wealth fund? And that's my playbook. I started this company based on how Harvard and Yale managed their endowment, which is now public and a lot easier to get than it was 20 plus years ago when, you had to sign up for it and they had to mail it to you. And 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, you get the book. Where they put their money is where we look to see, should we put money in it for regular people? That regulated part makes it look like Bernie Madoff, but then you can Google it and you can see I don't make anything. Our tax mitigation, some of the programs are from 1942 because that was World War II and they needed incentives to go find oil and gas. Those incentives are still on the books. We have federal senators as clients who I'm like, hey, didn't you write the code for this? Like, number one, I'm not that old. I'm not from 1942. And number two, I don't have access to it just because and that's the fun part is I almost have different candy that people don't even know exists, but like I would like to pay less taxes. Here, give me a piece of that. So I think my red flag would be if you're going to someone that's not just that doesn't do advising, they manage money primarily, which is not us. Then everything they show you will have if you bring it over, we can do this, and that presupposes that that's a better place for you. And if it's not, you're not going to know it, and they're not going to tell you. Because our job is to bring the money in. So our retainer is a tax deductible quarterly retainer for as active as it is, and it goes into maintenance mode. No one ever has to bring money over. Honestly, they all do eventually because they want a tax credit. They don't want to pay taxes on real estate. They want the tax mitigation, and we get their taxes looked at. So it really is, I think the first thing I would do is, if you were a potential client, do you even need us? Do you have the problems that are worth your money for us to fix? A lot of times, it's things I can tell you how to fix it. And I've done 30 of them today. Here's the answer. And there's no bill. Well, how'd you make any money? Like, well, not by giving you 5 minutes of my advice. If you need other things, so I'm over the hump financially. So I'm not looking for where's that money going to come from. And when you're talking to someone and you're needy, they feel it. I don't need anything. So they feel that too. Like, what do you mean you didn't call me back? And that's the fun part is we're not chasing. And so there was one that was a client, $30 million, referred to us from a Go Abundance guy. He's like, hey, just so you know, so-and-so wants to know, how come you didn't follow up? I'm like, he asked for a proposal. I gave him the proposal. I did my job. I'm not going to, and he's like, oh, he wanted his, tickled for a while. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. And it's funny when you have someone who's worth a lot of money and you don't kiss their butt. Now they want it even more. And I'm not smart enough to do reverse psychology. I wasn't giving the guy I'm like, here's my info. When you're ready, I'm ready. If not, because I'm valuing your time. I'm not going to, hey, did you look at the proposal? But some people want to be babysat. And that's the one thing that we will do once they engage us is more proactiveness. hey, did you see this? This thing changed in the investment you don't even have with us. Once it's in the portal, we're supervising it. So we have Google alerts and we know, and a lot of people are in the same stuff. So when one syndication, poops the bed, we see it with all the clients in the same thing. And we're reducing that because we're doing a lot more due diligence before they invest. They know now, hey, I see this shiny object. Should I get it? And we can say, well, here's our model portfolio that you agree with. Here's your asset. You already have your syndications coming. So yes, if one of these syndications come full cycle and you make money, which is a big F, it's a capital IF, it's a big if, but if it happens, great. Now you can know. So some people need that guidance. And what we try to do everywhere we can to make it simple is have a flywheel concept. Okay, this thing's going to be five years invested. You're going to get income or tax benefit, whatever it is. And at the end of 5 years, that plus the profit will then decide, do you want the money? Are you going to take the profit and go take the family to Disney? And then we can reinvest the original or whatever the client wants to do. So they know they're not going to see that. They're not going to have access to that money for 5 years, but it's doing something that they wanted it to do. And that gives them some sanity of all their money. Because the other issue is we never know when a syndication go full cycle. It's never when they tell us, which we know. I mean, that's the first thing that you just, whatever it says, it's never that. It's either sooner because they got a sweetheart purchase deal. Those days, I think, are behind us. Those used to happen. The 2 to 3 year lifetime of something that we was told was 7. Now I'll be happy if it's over in 7 because it might take longer to remind. You're living the same world I'm in.
Yeah. I had a couple of those syndications where I said it was going to be 5 to 7 and we got those sweetheart sales and I was like, okay, I guess we're going to sell. Merry Christmas to all the investors, right? But then now that is not the case anymore, right? That is not the case. So there's 2 angles I want to ask this next question is, one, you've obviously have a team that's super wise that you have found that can analyze multiple different types of investments, right? So how do you kind of build that team, and how do I, as the potential client, look at this and go, how do I know that you have built that right team? Who are these trusted folks that you've hired that are going to be reviewing these docs? So there's 2 angles of that. One, the internal business side, like you've obviously have access to great financial minds, and then 2, how do I feel comfortable with those guys?
So the first one's getting easier because now they're coming to us. I'm not looking to hire. I had one the first time in my life, the guy's like, I just want to apprentice there. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I want to work for free. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, you're the next John Bogle. And the interesting, the one guy's like, hey, you're the next Ken Fisher. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, he wrote for Forbes, you write for Forbes. And Ken does 2 things. Annuities suck. And we make money when you make money, the fee-based part of it. I'm like, all right. He's like, to me, he's like, Fred, you write for Forbes. And you are deep in alternatives and you have retainer-based planning. Like they're your two things plus Forbes. So that's kind of living in, to answer your question, we're doing much better job of screening potential applicants. And we know what we need now because we've had a really big up and down. We overhired. So the other part is I did screw it up. I overhired the wrong people. And it took a good 1.5 years to find out they were the wrong people, because you pay someone 6 figures, you assume they're doing their job. And when we got so busy, no one could babysit each other. And I made the mistake. We use EOS. That wasn't the mistake. The mistake I made was we implied clients are like family, but we also implied that the team's like family. Well, you can't get rid of family. So I basically, clients are like family, but we're a high performance team under this roof. If you're not doing your job, we're going to find a job you can do, or we're going to find a place outside of here that you can go do that job, because there's a level standard. So we're way better at firing faster, and we haven't fired anyone while, and we're way better, but that's only half the problem. I have an MBA in technology management. I believe that everyone can be lazy because no one, we're not selling, we're not on commission, so they're going to get paid whether they sell you something or not. Well, I have for everything in our office, and over the last 20 years, I've we made workflows behind the scenes. So for the tax mitigation, that 12-month engagement, we know for each of the next 12 months what we're going to do, what the client needs to give us, what actions we need to do, and what's the deliverable to the client to check off, hey, we did this month 1, we did this month 2. And we let the client, we say, hey, here's what's left. Which one of these do you want to do? So it's not like they're cookie cutter. We tailor it to them, but they get 12 months of tax mitigation. And that's for the tax mitigation part. For the retainer-based planning, it looks like, and you'll love this, it looks like a Trivial Pursuit circle with the wedges, onboarding, cash management, like all that stuff. And one of our newer hires, give him the whole vibe, the whole spiel. I'm like, do you have any questions? He's like, I only have one question. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. What is Trivia Pursuit? I'm like, oh my God, I'm now that old. We're now that, I mean, I knew I was old when I mentioned we're not trying to jump the shark here. And everyone, like, you could see the crickets. I'm like, oh, you guys heard of Happy Days? Like,
Happy Days, come on.
So,
Come on.
the Fonz, they don't have no idea what shooting the shark was. And the other day we said, I did a Seinfeld. I'm like, I'm out, Jerry. I swear to God, the kid's like, we have Jerry work here now? I'm like, oh my God, you don't even get Seinfeld. Like, and that's the hardest part of getting older is I don't feel any older. I know I don't act any more mature. I probably act even less mature because no one's telling me what to do anymore. But I also, the references that you and I, the Star Wars references, we got to find newer references, and I know it can't be 6, 7 because my kids are mad every time I do it.
Yeah, I'm not playing that game.
I do it just to piss them off. Sorry. That's the fringe benefit for me. So hopefully that answered your question, and I can go deeper on that. So it's really the workflows once they get in, and you tweak it and you put it in production. And the thing we have in our office, because this is the other thing that I've learned the hard way that people are scared to do, because being an entrepreneur like you and I are, we're really not scared. Like, we'll figure it out. I don't know all the answers. I just know that whatever I think is going to happen is going to be different, hopefully better, but we'll figure it out. And the thing that we talk about all the time is progress, not perfection. We had one person for a year was working on a project that I thought was done in 3 months, but I didn't have the bandwidth. I was doing all the abundance trips. I haven't done that in a while. I need to come back and fix my house. I am coming back. Everyone's like, you're still alive, right? Like, I'm still here. March. The Philly tribe is very active. And when you're not there, they let you know in real time, where the hell are you? Like, get over here. We miss you, all that good stuff. And that's why you're in GoBundance. At the end of the day, figuring that out with the clients and with our own team, progress. So basically what she was working on, she was scared to put out in production. And I'm like, listen, put it out in production. And if the clients aren't going to know that we missed a step, they don't know what any of the steps are, and we can always readjust. We're not going to do irrevocable things that are wrong. Like, it's not that kind of decision. It's like, all right, we need, we're going to do tax mitigation. Here's what we need. So I'm much better. And I think most businesses are all much better doing iterative changes once something's out in the world, and let the marketplace tell you what changes to make. Because you and I, we're just assuming that the client wants this. And this is the other thing we all have to understand. It's not an instant result to your decision. That retainer-based planning, which I thought was going to change the world, 2023, nothing for 2 years. Now, I had gotten it patented. I had spent a year with the thing. I need to work on a different Trivia Pursuit reference because that's no longer for the younger kids. Not, but it's a circle with wedges. We'll just leave it at that. And you get to work around and do the wedges. But all of that needed to happen. I wasn't ready for the growth that ended up happening. And so the crack showed in real time. No clients were hurt, no clients left, but it was like, hey, this was a very hard way of doing this. I don't have the right, at that point, we didn't have all the right people. And it's interesting, and you'll love this, the most expensive person in our team, more base salary than me, sent 3 emails in 2 weeks. And that was his work product. He had 150 families. He's not out bird dogging. Like, the families are here. We need someone to answer the Zooms. And so it wasn't hard once I had the time to go look at it. So the workflows that we have are assigned to other people. I can see when the workflows aren't done. And you'll lose your job if you mark on workflow done that wasn't done. And so it really lets us go. And then we also have a team where we have the ops team look at each other's tasks, and anything that's overdue and you are bored, reach out and say, hey, do you mind if I take this off your plate? No one's going to say no to that. So the camaraderie is much better when you have workflows that are transparent to everybody. And that, to me, has been, we didn't need EOS for that. EOS helped with that, just from a who does what. But that workflow on any CRM, an AI can help you what workflows are. But I want someone to have a little bit of Alzheimer's temporarily and still be able to do their job, because the computer says, send this, here's the template email for this stage, get this information. And in 2 weeks, here's the follow-up. Did Adam get back to me? Because our clients need to be professionally babysat. And that's one of the things they're paying for, even though they don't ask for it. Because me saying, hey, here's the proposal, you're not yet a client, here's the proposal, I'm not going to chase you 1,400 times. You're a client, I'm going to be in your driveway if you don't sign this document that you said you needed for your second to die life insurance. Like, all that's like that's where I'm like, oh, you're right, I should do it. Because we're easily distracted, or fires take priority. And so there's a reason for that, because you don't want to burn the house down. But meanwhile, it has to be teed up for the person on your side of the fence to make the decision. What are my 3 options? We don't ever give more than 3. 3 is my favorite number. And it helps people understand. It's almost like the Goldilocks. And we don't care which one they pick. We care that all 3 are eligible strategies with good sides and downsides. And we let the clients know. And usually 2 of the 3 things aren't even with us. Like, we're not going to just say, here's the 3 things I can sell you. It's like, here are the 3 options. You can go to this guy. He's going to do, scalloped LLCs and nesting LLCs. And here's the pros and cons of that. And if you do it, you're doing it with him, and I have nothing to do with it. I don't get a referral from him. I don't get jack from you, but I know this guy can do it. I just don't know if this is how you want your stuff, because your accountant's going to love it because now he has all these tax returns to do. And I'm not so sure that that's the right thing for you. So we tend to say, here's the 3 options. And if I were you, here's what I would do, but let them make the final decision.
I love it. So this has been a phenomenal conversation, Fred. You definitely did not disappoint in throwing a bunch of information out here for us to kind of chew on. Obviously, you've put a lot of effort into this, and I really appreciate what you're doing and the focuses that you have, because the alternative investments, I think, are going to be the route to go anyways, me personally. I love being able to look that route. Once I learned about investing, because I was paycheck to paycheck for so long, I didn't even know people saved money, let alone invested money. So now, though, I realize that this is where we should be going. So if folks are hearing this and they're like, dude, I love the way Fred has this set up. I love what's going on. I am a fan of Trivial Pursuit, and I want my pie chart the way that I want it. So what is the best way for folks to reach out to you to learn more, to hopefully get involved with your team?
Perfect. So 2 resources, our website, CCWMG.com, a lot of information on there. But the other resource, go to Forbes.com, put my last name, and you can subscribe to every article I wrote. I'm only allowed to write about alternative investments. So it's not the product. I'm not selling you anything. I'm not trying to sell anything, but it's what's going on. Like, why where's the legal, ethical, or moral advantage to this type of investment? And so we'll talk about that. I think you get 5 a week for free. So I'm paid by Forbes, but not by, you don't have to pay for it. So they're the 2 parts. So our website, CCWMG.com. And if you go to Forbes.com, put Hubler, Hubler, you'll see my page. And then as I write every 2 to 3 weeks, you'll see the new article, but you'll see all the old articles. We have stuff on how to reduce your taxes and private equity and Richard Gere. My 2 best articles comparing Taylor Swift to an alternative investment. And thank God the Swifties liked me. And the other one was our oil and gas. I did a Landman article, and that went,
nice.
Just put the Landman in there, and I had pictures from this cast there, which is kind of cool. So I try to make it easy, and they're 500-600 words. They're not War and Peace, and they're very high level. So it's really meant to say, because when you and I say alternative investments, it's kind of like saying the color blue. I have no idea what shade you have. Now, for me, it's going to be this teal green, because that's my favorite color. I have nothing other than my company that color. Like a car, this color is not my, I have a red sports car. But that basically, those articles explain different types of alternatives. And some might resound or look like some of the syndications you did. Like there's things out there that make money either at the syndication side, the individual side, and even scale up to $300 million niche, playing that niche. And that's really the world we live in. And sometimes it ain't $300 million, it's $40 million. And we have 3 weeks to fund it. And we're one of 3 people in the world that have access to it. That's the unfair advantage my firm has, only because I was in left field 20 years ago with these firms. And that's the fun part. And if your listeners play this back half speed, it's a normal speed.
I understand, because I'm a fast talker myself. So, all right. Well, Fred, it was awesome chatting with you. I really appreciate it. Everybody listening, obviously, Fred is a wealth of knowledge. No pun intended on the wealth side of the house. But please reach out to Fred if there's anything he can do. Again, it's CCWMG.com or search Hubler on Forbes.com and check out what he has going on. Thank you again, Fred. Thank you, everybody listening, and we'll see everybody on the next show.
Thanks for having me.